Hello everyone and welcome back to the Grudge Match. This week we have an epic battle between the two greatest consoles of all time, the Wii and of course, Dreamcast. Siding with the Wii is certified Nintendo fanboy Mike Thompson, and siding with the Dreamcast is certified Sega fanboy who has no more hopes or dreams, me. I suppose we'll give the results. It was actually pretty evenly divided.
Yeah.
This was one of the closest ones I've seen in a long time. 53.4% for the Wii in the end, and 46.5% for the Dreamcast. No matter how hard the Sega fans tried, it only took the lead for a little bit, and then disappeared. I call the Dreamcast fanboys on IGN the sort of the quiet riot. They're unseen because there's nowhere for them to go, but once you call them out, they're out in force, and it's awesome.
I'm surprised that the Wii actually won, because like nobody likes Wii, especially like hardcore gamers. It's just like, you know, it's like Wii Parlor Games 7 and.
We're definitely seeing Wii hardcore backlash on a lot of the boards.
Yeah.
A lot of people complaining. But then they go home and they play all day, so I don't see what... I think they just like to complain. But would you like to start giving your argument for the Wii as the superior gaming console?
Yeah, sure. The Wii basically took every idea the Dreamcast had and made it work. Which is kind of, you know, I mean, you could see in, like, Sega Bass Fishing just came out on Wii. Samba de Amigo is coming out on Wii in a few months. And it's sort of, you know, the Dreamcast had, you know, the original kind of motion thing and all the different peripherals they had, and like Typing of the Dead, and the light gun peripheral, the fishing peripheral, the maracas peripheral. And they were really targeting it, like, new, unprecedented ways of playing, using your body, involving, you know, stuff that a bunch of different people could play, not just like the 15-year-old that wanted to mash buttons in Soul Calibur or play a virtual NFL season, but, you know, stuff the whole family could play. It was just silly and wacky and out there and fun.
Man, you're making my argument for me.
Well, what the Dreamcast didn't do, though, was make all those peripherals work correctly. It was like a 50% recognition chance when you're playing Samba de Amigo, and instead of doing something nice and serene and inviting like the Mii sort of art style or the Wii Sports art style, they created this like terrifying psychedelic monkey aesthetic that, you know, the only like the hardcore otaku fanboy would, you know, ever find appealing. I mean, your grandmother's certainly not going to pick up Samba de Amigo and see like a crazy monkey go.
Maybe your grandmother. Mine was like completely high playing that game all the time.
My grandmother's dead.
I win again.
It's true. So yeah. There you go. The Wii does everything the Dreamcast did.
I can accept that argument.
Minus all those crappy RPGs.
I can accept that argument, having played all of those wacky, great Dreamcast games and having them not work most of the time. I mean, Samba de Amigo is a great example of something that worked if you just held the maracas perfectly, but you were always falling out of the zone. The sensor bar didn't really work that well. The Wii does work, which is why it's you know, become so popular, is because the themes are simple in these games with motion control, and the implementation is simple, and you sort of have a very close to one-to-one ratio between what you're doing and what you get on the screen, and you're never standing there confused saying, why isn't this happening the way it should? The Dreamcast does get all of the points for originality, though. I mean, that system had a lot of things that would be considered innovative in the casual market today first, and they didn't really get credit because nobody played them, and because the system only lasted for a short amount of time before it disappeared and destroyed all of Sega. So that's a little bit sad. But what I like about Dreamcast is probably the thing that you just capped on a little bit, which was the fact that all their games were so psychedelic and weird and specific to a hardcore audience, and it seemed like the designers just had these really demented visions and didn't care if they were marketable or not, which is not something you see very often. Although, good job Sega for picking up Platinum Games, which will produce 4 games in that vein for you, which will be awesome and not sell at all.
Yeah, that's right.
So, let's get to the article comments, because this produced some of the greatest article comments I've seen in a long time. Most of them are just against you, Mike, because I get to pick the article comments. So, what does that even mean, joy of conformity, which you called Sega's old style of repetition? Because a lot of Sega games were arcade style. You know, you'd play something over and over again, right?
Come on, I would never say something as pedantic as joy of conformity. What do you guys think I am?
Nobody got joy out of it because they were conforming to a trend. They got joy out of Dreamcast because it was a system with awesome games. Besides, Nintendo is all about conforming these days. It's basically their marketing scheme. You guys forgot Seaman. That game was awesome. Leonard Nimoy plus Talking Fish plus microphone. Gold. Conversational gold. Yeah, we did forget Seaman. That was an awesome game, awesome peripheral.
Yeah.
Really freaking weird, though. That was from
a precursor to Nintendogs.
A little bit, yeah, but gross and strange. Why it didn't sell. Again, that was from G. Hearn. This is from the Real Superman 67. So there were 66 other Real Supermen. Dreamcast had Dreamcast had Shenmue, so it wins by default. Plus, Dreamcast was the last console to have good Sonic games. I forgot to make fun of Shenmue. Whenever I defend Dreamcast, I like to rip on Shenmue because it's one of those things that it just gets people really pissed off.
The story was so moving.
Well,
a lone guy trying to hunt down his girlfriend.
I rip on Shenmue because the game basically destroyed the company. You know, it bankrupted Sega, if you want to get down to it. And so I have a personal grudge against that game, no matter how much people love it.
And it laid the social fabric for Fire Inside fans. So, congratulations.
Droopy 101, the Wii hands down is something for everyone and some of the best and innovative games I have ever played on Dreamcast 5 years ago.
There you go.
At least Clayman's not going to be able to dig me for being ambivalent this time. I'm solidly in the Dreamcast camp, if for no other reason the game's available on the respective systems. What? I don't know.
Is that English?
I'm not sure. I probably misread it. It looked back at the Dreamcast library of classic titles makes the Wii selection of mini games and remakes look sad by comparison. That's from Mark Ian. Not all of them look sad by comparison. It's just that there's so many Wii games. Okay. That are,
crappy.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. You can't really blame the system for that, though. It's not like Nintendo is encouraging it,
right.
I think.
Well, no, you can blame Nintendo because they certify everything.
Yeah, well, then you could have the Dreamcast, and they didn't certify anything because nobody wanted to make games for it.
Right, and half of what you could play on Dreamcast was a hacked ROM anyway.
That was one of the major problems, or what made it awesome, depending on...
Early precursor to the downfall of PC gaming.
Well, an early precursor to the Wii because you could play all the Nintendo games you wanted on that thing.
But you can't do that on Wii. You can only play like 20 Nintendo games.
And you have to pay for
half
them.
of them are the ones you don't want.
And you have to pay for them.
Kirby's Woods. Woohoo!
Soan Sabishi. Even though I moved on, Dreamcast still lives in my heart. Thanks, Sega, for at least trying. You made 1999 through 2001 one of the best years of my life. Wow, that's touching. It was also good for me. Op-ed time. Bowing out of the console business was the best thing that Sega ever did. Now, if we can only get them to stop making crappy games. So, not pro-Wii, more just anti-Sega.
Yeah.
This comment, I'm not sure what he's saying in the beginning. I'm just going to kind of skip it, but this is solely anti-you, Mike.
Oh, good.
This is blaming you for something, calling the Wii innovative, and somehow you're responsible for people saying it's innovative when it's not. Thus, the downward spiral begins with you losing your job and all of your friends, your home, and all your possessions. Then one night on the streets, on your deathbed, just before your final breath, you whisper, "I should have back Dreamcast," and then your wiener falls off. Then you die. From Stilts559.
Little do you know, Stilts, that my wiener fell off in high school in a tragic auto shop accident.
And the last comment from Liquid Bow, I swear IGN just writes this to get comments. Well, with the comments we just
how dare you.
Why would we have it any other way?
Permaban for him. Permaban.
So I lose this one, Dreamcast loses this one, but I think in our hearts we all know that it should have won by a landslide.
Metroid Prime 3 Corruption.
So we'll see you next week with another ridiculous grudge match.